Hi everyone, this is Gwen with Hub.Careers, and once again I have an international themed career tip for you. Pretty commonly I meet people who like to travel, and almost just as often as I meet people interested in traveling, I also meet people who strongly dislike interviews. But this traveling that people so frequently love talking about is actually something that you can bring into your next interview. I've traveled quite a bit, quite often in the last few years, and I found that the more I speak about my travel experience in my interviews, the more often I seem to get hired. So I took this hypothesis to a few employers and an HR representative that I know about why traveling might make someone more likely to land a job. And over the course of these conversations I've had with these people, there were three main points that kept getting reiterated in our conversations. And the first is adaptability. So, in an interview with an international consulting company, I was told that I would be traveling about 90% of my job, often to non Western countries. And they asked if I thought I could handle this. And so I told them absolutely, because during my master's degree, I spent 2 months learning Arabic in Lebanon. And I explained to them that my apartment regularly didn't have water. When it did have water, it was salty water, and that the lights went out every day for 2 hours, sometimes every day for 4 hours. And they asked if this affected me negatively. And I didn't lie. I answered honestly that at times it was quite frustrating, but that I managed. I found places that I could study. There was a place in the university which always had electricity, or in a cafe, and I would just shower at my friend's apartment. And they liked this because they wanted someone they could count on to handle themselves while traveling for work, and they wanted someone that they could ask to be relocated in case a position came about with that company in a different area. But even if you aren't going to be traveling for work, or even if you aren't going to be relocated, say that you're very sure that you will be in one place, one city, for many, many years, being adaptable is still an extremely important career skill to have. If you can adapt your surroundings while traveling, it's more likely that you'll be flexible during an unforeseen change at work, or some sort of temporary environmental change. And so I've discussed similar stories in interviews for desk jobs where the furthest I've traveled was down the hall. But ultimately, the positive response was still there, as it was with this international consulting firm. So, in addition to being adaptable, travel indicates other equally important career skills, an eagerness and a willingness to learn new things, independence, and the ability to accept new or foreign ideas. So, while many of my jobs have included some sort of travel or living in a new place, even those which haven't, the interviewer has been very enthusiastic about hearing me speak about my travels. So one example is that once I was asked a quite general question like, discuss a time you overcame adversity. And so I told the interviewer that I actually had two examples. I had one that was work related, and then I actually wanted to talk about another one that was non work related. So when I came to the non work related example, I discussed the time that I broke my arm in India. And I just talked about different things surrounding that. For example, what it's like going to a hospital where only the main doctor speaks English, but none of the staff does. Or trying to manage a loan in a foreign country with a cast on your arm. And I mentioned that I wanted to bring up this non-work related story because really the way we handle everyday issues shows our truest character. And also, I thought that the experience overall was actually quite a good one. At the time, it wasn't so great, but I learned so much more about Indian healthcare. I learned just ridiculously how cheap it was compared to the US to, for instance, get a cast on your arm when you didn't have health insurance that covered you in India, or that there are certain health laws that exist in India that don't exist in the US, and the differences in the technology. Um, and by adding these types of anecdotes to your interview, you really humanize yourself. In interviews, many people discuss the same types of work achievements and educational backgrounds and career goals, and so sometimes it can be a bit difficult to stand out. But I find that after I bring up a situation from my travels, the interviewer starts asking me details about my trip. So once a man had actually visited the same city as me, and we started talking about the food and his experience in the country and other places he had traveled on the same trip, and our conversation really made the interview more memorable and more personable. So adding these types of stories into your interview strategically, it can take a bit of work. And honestly, I think it's better not to tell a story than to force one into a conversation awkwardly. But many interviews have the same types of questions, just asked in different ways. For instance, listing your strengths, listing your weaknesses, how your past experience qualifies you for a job, discuss a time you had to work in a team, discuss a time you overcame an obstacle. And so while you focus mostly on your past work experience and how you handle yourself in a similar environment or similar office, there are opportunities for you to bring up things outside of work from your travels. And I think that while preparing for these questions as you normally would, thinking of 2 or 3 slightly offbeat stories to share as well, stories that really captivate or to show your ability to overcome and keep cool in a sticky situation. These stories that they might only be an extra minute or two long, but they can really emphasize some of your positive work attributes as well as set you apart from the rest of the interviewees. So for more career tips like this, please visit Hub.Careers, and you can watch my other video, Developing a Global Mindset, on the Hub.Career YouTube channel or directly on their website. Thank you so much.